Hi, welcome to Digital Learning. I'm Connie Kolosey, the Director of Media, Text, and Digital Learning. And in today's program, I have with me some colleagues from the Art Department, Ted LoCascio and Julie Levesque. And Julie, tell us about what you do.
I'm the Tech Integration Coordinator for the Visual Arts. So my job is to help the art teachers help set up their technology, help train them how to use their technology. I coach them on their teaching, and I also organize the summer camps. We have a digital summer camps that students go to.
All right. Ted, what do you do?
I do a lot of the same things that Julie does, but my focus is more on the secondary schools, so middle school and high school.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you go out and help art teachers. Now, this is Digital Learning, the name of our show.
Right.
And so when I think of art, I think of pottery, and I think of painting, and I think of drawing, and but you do a lot of digital work too.
Well, ironically, we do all of those things digitally as well. So we have students working with iPads. We have apps, an app called Pottery, where they can actually throw a pot on a wheel and decorate it and fire it. So they kind of get a virtual experience of how to work with ceramics. They can do painting on the iPads. They do drawing. They do digitally altering photographs, like digital collages. So a lot of the things we do in the classroom with traditional media, we've now been able to transfer into the digital media. So that's kind of interesting.
So what kind of technology, particularly with secondary schools, do they have to work with?
In the middle schools, we're using iPads, similar to the elementary schools, but at a higher, more advanced level. Some of our middle school classrooms now are piloting using styluses, so they can actually draw with a drawing tool rather than having to just use their finger. Mm-hmm. So that's something we're very excited about. And then in the high schools, we have either desktop labs, Macs, or they have laptop carts. And they are using a stylus of sorts too. They have drawing tablets. So they're pressure sensitive drawing pens that plug into the computer, and they draw on the tablet, and it simulates real drawing. So the harder you press on the tablet with the mechanical pen, the thicker the stroke. And if you let up, it's a thinner stroke. And so you really get that feel that you would get with a traditional drawing tool. So when we go out and we try to teach this curriculum to our incoming teachers and even our long-standing teachers, we really try to get them to understand that these technology tools they're just another medium. And I often tell my teachers, think about what your best lesson plan was for traditional media, your best drawing lesson or your best painting lesson. And then let's try and adapt that using the software and the tools that we have to do it in the same fashion, but just digitally.
But we still do use the traditional means as well, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
Sometimes we'll use them together.
Oh,
they'll draw traditionally, photograph the work, bring it into the iPad, add color to it using an application, and then we spit it out in a printer.
So one of the things, though, when you're doing it in real time, and you make what you perceive to be an error, then now the error is there, right? It's you've done it.
That's true.
You painted the thing,
Mm-hmm.
but digital gives you a little more opportunity to make an error or change your mind.
Yes, it is a little bit more user-friendly. I used that with my students when I was in the classroom in high school.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can use these digital tools, like let's say you're doing watercolor painting, and if you maybe do it digitally first, so they can have that freedom to make errors and correct them easily without having to start all over again, then they're more confident when we use the traditional tools afterwards.
Right. So it really is a confidence building.
Yeah.
Julie, you mentioned that you did some art camps over the summer. Tell us a little about that.
So we have summer camps that are fully funded by the referendum. In the summer, we started with elementary digital camps. So it was digital only. Students were learning about photography. They were doing drawing and painting on the iPads. They were also creating stop motion animations. And so that was our original camps, and we've expanded that now to some traditional camps. And this year we're going to try one high school digital, and we have also the middle school digital. So we're expanding that program as well.
So you mentioned that the camps are funded by the referendum,
Yes.
but this would be a good place to say that your positions are really an opportunity funded by the referendum. And one of the goals of the referendum, of course, was to support visual arts, performing arts, reading, technology, and so this is also, everything we're talking about here today, these tools, they would not happen if we did not have the referendum.
They would not happen. We wouldn't have the equipment, and even if we had the equipment, you can't expect these teachers to use the equipment without any training whatsoever. So the referendum has really been, I don't want to say life-changing, but it's really been pivotal in helping us elevate the art program in Pinellas County. I mean, we're known throughout the nation for our art program here, and the support and the money that comes from the referendum is part of that.
Yeah. So, Ted, we had an opportunity to visit Tarpon High School and that classroom, and Miss Mammarelli talked to us a little bit about what her kids were doing, but before we watch that, can you tell us what we're going to see?
Miss Mammarelli has some photography classes at Tarpon Springs High School, and she's one of our best teachers really in the county. She always has her students producing great work. On the day that we visited, I believe that her students were working on images for the Student Surreal show that is coming up at the Dali Museum. Dali does those all throughout the year with different age groups and different counties, but ours is coming up, our entry period is coming up, so she was having her students create those surreal photographic images. Most of them were pulling images out of a photograph and juxtaposing them with something else that would make it surreal. So that was what they were working on, and I know that planning ahead, she's planning to try and get her students to become Adobe certified in Photoshop. Adobe Photoshop is the program that they're using for most of their projects. And so she's preparing to get them ready to take that certification test much later in the year. So she's kind of at the beginning stages of that.
So we are always looking for opportunities for our kids, our high school kids in particular, to come out of high school with industry certifications.
Yeah.
And wow, how practical is that? A certification in Adobe Photoshop. Just to even know how to use it is amazing.
Yeah.
So let's hear from Ms. Mammarelli and her work.
Currently, students are working on surrealism. They are using Adobe Photoshop, and they are creating surreal layered works of art. That's for the Student Surreal show at the Dali Museum in St. Pete. Students will be working on movie making next. They're going to be storyboarding and working on short 3-minute films. So students will be making movies using our newer cameras that we received from referendum funds. They are Nikon DSLR cameras. They're wonderful. And students will be using them to film short movies. They're going to be about 3-minute movies. I'm hoping students are going to finish the movies in time to submit to Scholastic, a 3D movie show, and then also the Palm Beach Movie Festival.
So she's talking about layered 3D art, right? Did I get that right?
2D art.
2D art, okay. So layered art. And what does that mean for a lay person?
Well, when you're working in Photoshop and you're building an image, it's like collage. So if you were to, say, cut out different pictures in a magazine, and then you were to paste them down onto a piece of paper or a poster board, well, you would probably have some overlap, right? And the things that were at the top of the layer would be the most visible. So it's the same sort of idea with what Ms. Mammarelli's doing here, is she's having her images find images or take images, find images that they have the rights to use, of course, or take images, and then cut out pieces of them by making selections in Photoshop, removing them from their background, right? And then combining them together into a layered image, just like collage. So you actually have a layers panel in Photoshop where you can see all of the layers that are stacking together to make this new surreal image.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What a powerful tool, and one that would be almost impossible to replicate not digitally. You know.
Not in the same way.
Not
no.
in the same way. Right. All right, well, let's continue to hear from Ms. Mamarelli.
So we received Wacom drawing tablets through the referendum funds, and students have been using them to help assist them make art. It makes their art more, I think it makes their art more realistic. The mark making and the ability to create realistic strokes using the Wacom tablet have totally transformed the way the artwork looks. Photography is an upper level course. We don't allow 9th graders to take it. They have to take either a 2D or a 3D basic arts class. So students in this class are levels 10, 11, and 12. So I would consider them upper level students. And they aren't not necessarily art students. They're general population students that maybe have taken an art class and are interested in photography and design. This is considered an elective course here at Tarpon Springs High. Most of the programs on the computers are new to these students. They've never really used the Adobe Creative Cloud when they come into this class, and most students have never used a Mac computer. So this is definitely their first time experiencing technology of this level. Students this year are able to receive a certification in Adobe Photoshop in my photography classes. I think it's a wonderful element to add to any art program. It really makes the students more marketable when they're leaving my class, especially in real life situations like finding a job or internships.